Welcome to the Tanz im August podcast. This podcast series is part of the Tanz im August Festival, presented by HAU Hebbel am Ufer. This year it takes place from 13th to 29th of August in Berlin. Several artists from this year's program have been invited to join a conversation series. In each episode, they share insights into their lives and creative work. The artists talk about their past and current projects and offering in-depth perspectives on the works they are presenting at Tanz im August 2026. In this episode, Ricardo Carmona, artistic director of the festival, talks with Calixto Neto. He will present his work Bruits Marrons on 27th, 28th and 29th of August at HAU 2.
Hello, Calixto.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy to have this conversation with you. We're going to present your new work in Tanz in August. So we are recording this talk a bit before you come to Berlin. Yeah. So to begin, maybe you could tell us a bit about your artistic past and what led you to dance and choreography.
I think maybe I can start with what led me to dance, because I was born in an environment with dance. My mom used to be a dancer. My sister herself started dancing in a very young age. At some point, she had to give up because of knee problems, but she still teaches dance for kids. And so I was born and raised in this dance environment inside of my house and also outside of house, because I come from a place in Brazil where there are a lot of traditional dances, and it attracted me all the time. My path starts like this, but I don't go for the dance, let's say, for the dance field right away, because I had a very macho father. So I went to the sports and theater. Actually, I had this university degree in theater teaching. And then in the middle of the university, I started really taking class of dance and more seriously, because before that I was in and out and following not in a very serious way. And then in the middle of the university, I was around 20 years. I started taking classes and then I started dancing very seriously. And 2 years after, I was already dancing kind of professionally in my city. I come from Olinda in Pernambuco, in the coast of the northeast Brazil. And then Olinda, Recife, there are two like sister cities. And I was dancing there. At some point, I moved to Rio de Janeiro to dance with Lia Rodrigues. And that's when it became more, let's say, international, because Lia has a very active and strong network here in Europe, especially in France. And at some point, I decided to go back to studies, and I decided to make the exerce, the master program in Montpellier, south of France. And that's when I moved to France, and then I started also doing my own work while collaborating with other choreographers. And yeah, lately I've been very busy with my own work and how can I create bridges with other artists, whether to work with me on my pieces, whether to work alongside of my own projects.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. It's nice that you take us with us in this parkour. I feel that your work actually sits in this intersection between dance, music, and political memory, and also history. Do you think this is correct? And how do you feel that these intersections make your pieces?
I think that, yeah, it's an interesting question. I never thought like this, especially the third part of it, the musical part of it. Although it's obviously an important part of my work, because I believe in the poetic and the politic power of the music. when it's kind of a central part of the piece is there, and also when it's a kind of quotation, because music brings memories, brings a cultural heritage, a political statement, brings up memories of a moment in our lives, of a moment in our struggles. So, and the meanings of the words, I'm very attached to it. It was the case in Feijoada, of course, was my first group piece where the music is kind of the center of the piece. One of the centers, because there's obviously the fruit and the history of samba, and the samba as a musical manifestation, but also as a dance and a cultural manifestation, like in a more broader point of view in Brazil. And also in Bruits Marrons, the piece that I'm showing in the festival. And in Bruits Marrons was kind of an encounter with Julius Eastman that it was a surprise, actually. It was this kind of feeling that I had when I heard the music that led me to understand more about him, about his music, about minimalistic music in the United States in the 80s, 70s, 80s. So I would say yes, even in the solo pieces, the musics, I often like to sing in my pieces. And I'm not a singer, but I believe in this act of giving musicality to the words. In general, there is a previous work of putting to poetics. So I am an admirer of the work of musicians and the poets that create music and how it arrives to the society. For example, the very first part of Bruits Marrons, there is a kind of tribute to a singer, a Brazilian singer called Lineker, that 2 years ago released a masterpiece of an album called Caju. And I was so moved by the ensemble of her work that it was like, I need to dialogue with it and call her to dialogue with me, with us. She's a Black trans woman from Brazil, Grammy winner, with amazing music that translates the moment, actually. She translates what is going on in the moment and also brings us what we didn't even know that we needed. So there is this tension between what she's producing now and what Julius had produced back then on his time. So I like to think about this arch of time.
It's very beautiful how you connect both moments and also both musicians. And you were just sharing with us this first moment that you hear the music of Eastman. But that was already some years ago, because I remember that we started to talk about this project a couple of years ago. And then you started to investigate the history of Eastman, but also to develop some materials, and now the piece is done. So maybe you can share with us also how this process was for you, which is longer than the usual creation process.
The actual creation for the piece was, I would say that was a normal time frame for a creation, but there were some steps before this creation right now. I met Julius in 2019 in a studio in a choreographic center in France. Someone was using his music, and I was like struck by the power of the music. Evil Nigger, that's the one I used in Bruits Marrons. And then I started researching more about him, his life, and what he's been through when he was alive. And then in 2021, I was invited to join the Portrait of Lia Rodrigues in Festival d'Automne in Paris. And I proposed a project for them around the Nigger series, actually. That is the series of music where Evil Nigger is included. That is Evil Nigger, Crazy Nigger, and Gay Gorilla. And I imagined the whole project around these three musics that would last long during the night, with a structure that is very close to Feijoada. the other piece that I proposed to the festival, because I couldn't decide myself what would be the best project to develop at the moment. And then they said, okay, we want Feijoada. I think it's more connected to Lia, more about the moment. And I'm very happy with the choice, because after that, I was invited by Constant Festival des Arts in Brussels to be part of they have a side programmation called Free Schools. And then I had the opportunity to join some dancers and musicians and just be there with them experimenting things. So there was a moment that some things set on my way of inhabiting this environment with the music. Although that moment I was wanting to experiment and more improvisations around the music, not the music itself. So I wanted everything to be a kind of a jazz, and it worked somehow. It was beautiful because in a very few time, we decided to create this kind of mini community, and it worked very well, because we also concentrated in getting to know each other, getting to know Julius, his heritage, and how his heritage connects to what we do nowadays. So it was a very powerful moment. And also, I was also working with only with Black dancers and musicians. And it was a kind of a bet that I made in the beginning of the project. So, and also, it was so difficult to find Black musicians that could play Julius's scores. And it kind of reinforced the choice. So the idea for Bruits Marrons was to make out of those experiences and those desires a real piece, and dig more into the community aspect of the work. Also because I was more connected to the experience of traveling, touring with Feijoada, and how we managed to create this small ephemeral community, and how it connects to resistance communities in Brazil, historically the Quilombos, the Maroon communities. So, and also the contemporary versions of those communities that we also have in Brazil, and how this word is being appropriated by Black communities to imagine all the kinds of liberty that goes from studying Black history, goes from just having a musical study group, or self-care group, or just dance together, just being together to have this sense of strength. And then the process of the piece went quite, let's say, in a classical way, in our ecosystem, in the economical way we're dealing with creation right now. With the time frame we have, the production conditions that we can provide to ourselves, we tried with Julie Legal, that is the producer of the company, and also Marie Montfort-Prédour, that is the technical director, to make a very clear and comfortable environment throughout the creation, so that we could be busy with only being together in a good way. I decided since the beginning that we would go through difficult questions, but we wouldn't harm ourselves, so that it could be a place that we wanted to be. In this way, I think we managed to do it.
Yeah, that's very beautiful and very important, of course, also that the creation processes also are in tune with the topic of the piece, and also how you want to lead the creation. And also I feel that even if we don't know all this information about the process, we can also feel that when we see the piece, because the group is so strong together, and there's such a strong connection between them, and also a sense of very strong community, that it comes to us as a public also. Yeah. But beside the performers that are on stage, there's also piano on stage. That I feel it becomes, of course, it's an instrument where we can also hear the music of Eastman, but also it has a presence in itself. It becomes somehow another performer. Can you tell us a bit what was the decision and how also you work with the piano?
I think it was the biggest question mark in the creation was the presence of the piano and how I would deal with the music of Julius itself. Because I don't have a classical musical background in terms of formation. So I was counting on my feelings with the music and also with the professional advice from Omi, which is our musical director. She has a real musical formation in the conservatoire that is very, how can I say, balizada. I mean, the way it should be in the Western tradition. And also it allowed her to be able to play Julius's score. In the beginning, we would have two pianists, but we had a problem with the second one. He decided not to be part of the project like 1 week before we start working. And I was not sure how many pianos we would have on stage. If we would have one piano, two pianists, or one piano for each pianist, and how I would deal with the general thing. But I had some nice surprises during the process, is that this pianist left, and then I had to be with Omi, and then it allowed me to discover that only one person playing Julius's music is even more impressive, because it's a music that is supposed to be played at minimum by 4 pianos and up to 18. We had some experiences that we had 2 pianists. Back then in 22, or in the free schools, we had 3 pianos. So in our first week, we didn't have the choice. So Omi was alone and she was playing the music alone. And then we saw that it kind of worked. And it was even stronger because she was alone, like taming the music, the beast, the black beast, as she says in the beginning. So it was also very beautiful. So we kept this version of Omi, and also she arrived with very strong ambitions to dance in the piece. She wanted not only to be a piano player, she wanted to dance, and she was hoping for that. So for me, it was also a very beautiful surprise that out of a sudden I had 6 dancers, while I thought I would have only 5 or even 4, because I was still thinking about having the second pianist. So those surprises during the process were very kind of shaped the way I used the piano. Then the decision of having only one piano as this one single symbol of the music on stage, and how we would use it as a structure to be that we could go through, or that we can move as once as an instrument, or as a coffin that we move around. I was very I wanted to go back to this tradition we had in Brazil during the colonial time, that there were black men that worked specifically moving pianos from one house to another when they had to do it. And there's this special kind of composition, musical composition, in a lot of working communities around the world. They make music compositions to pace the work they do in a rhythmic way. So the piano carriers in Brazil was the same, and they have specific compositions for that. And I've heard about it like long ago while I was studying theater. And then when he started this creation, I remember that. And then I went back to this tradition, not to make people carry the weight of the piano, but to move them around while singing, because this music kind of pace creates a pace for the work. And then there's this music that is half lullaby, half sorrow music. So we wanted to deal with the piano, to this presence to be somehow far away from us, but also integrated in the action during the piece. And at the moment that the piano becomes another thing, not becomes another thing, but in the end have had all those images, we could listen to the piano in other way. That was the bet. Those experiences that we see before the actual music of Julius allow us to listen to the music in a very specific way.
I mean, one of the center ideas of the piece is the concept of marronnage. So I wonder if you could explain or tell us a bit more about this idea and how it influenced the construction of the piece.
Yeah. As I told you, I was moved by the experience of the tournée with the other piece, Feijoada, where we are 10 on stage, but also the technical team, and how very easily we can create a very healthy and powerful environment of work. And I think that we are living in a very isolated moment of our lives. It's very difficult in big cities like Paris to create community, to connect with people truly. And the work somehow is the place where we actually meet people. And I decided that this moment of work is a moment that where I can try to act politically, to create a nice environment of work, because there is also a response to other working experiences, but also put not only the correctness of the contract, of the good conditions, but investing on people that I know that the communal aspect of being together is important. So choosing people that is open to be more connected than the 8 hours that we are on studio, and also put the affect on it, for me was important. So when I chose those people, I was somehow making sure they would take care of this aspect. And this, I need to be very, I don't know how to say it in English. We have this word in Portuguese called bairrista, that we give value to what comes from where it comes from. And I bet on the Brazilian technology, actually. And also knowing that us Brazilian, we miss this part of connecting to people, being more in a more celebratory environment. And also betting that being only the most part of the time only between Black people also creates a sense of security and release that is very powerful, actually, in a work. So there is this kind of thought when I thought about how can I work on this idea of marronnage, of quilombismo nowadays. I know that we became even more friends with this work, which is completely normal. I mean, artistic process, they generate this kind of openness and sensibility. But I bet on the Blackness aspect of the gathering of people. So I was inspired by, of course, the history of the many quilombos in Brazil, where there was any kind of captivity, there was the will to provide themselves liberty, not only in Brazil, but around the world. People, we want to be free, we need to be free. And if we can do it together, we're going to do it together. And then we're going to fight together. And this is, even when it's for a dance piece, is a very political act. So there was this inspiration, how we appropriate this historical moment in Brazil when we were enslaved and we needed to build those communities from the ground. And nowadays that we are free in a certain way, how can we can be even more free from beliefs, from certain points of view, and that's it. So about creating this a space of liberty and comfort and safeness, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I think the piece also has this series of monologues from each performer, where they also share different perspectives and different angles around this idea of community, of marronage. And I think from the beginning, you don't see the group as a generic ensemble. You really see them as individuals that had specific histories, and they also bring different inputs to the piece. I was wondering how also you as a choreographer then managed to create this and choreograph this group, because they are all very different, but also there's a sense of really strong community inside.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't know before starting, because although it's my second group piece, Feijoada is a lot about, there's a lot of text and some moments of dance where we also invite the audience, the idea of dance, and choreography is more on how we deal with the atmospheres of the piece. And with Bruits Marrons, I wanted to work with dancers, with dancing background, and to bring this to the stage. I didn't know how would it would work out. So my bet was to bring some practices that I wanted to share and see how they would react in general. And then getting to know them, getting to know how they move, getting to know how they communicate with me and also with the others. And also catching their differences to make them go deeper on what specifically they do and how specifically they move. So that was the bet for me. And during the creation process, because I like to write, and also we were also doing this in 2022. Those moments that we would only write about ourselves, about what's going on, just to share some words, some thoughts, to getting to know each other more, because not everyone knew each other before the piece. So we were dancing together, but also taking a moment to write together. And we had 4 axes of writing that were historical facts that we may not know, could be truth or not, a personal memory, and dreams. Dreams as the ones we have during the night, and also like an utopia for the world, what we desire for us and how it would impact the world around us. So actually, these writing practices made me see them even more as individual, getting to know them, and make me kind of fall in love with them because they are all so amazing, so rich, so specific, so incredible. Everything that they wrote, we had a bunch of texts that are not in the piece, of course, but they are so amazing. The way they see the world, the history, their memories, and what they want to the world is so precious that I decided to make this part of the piece, and also as you said, a way to the audience to get to know them as individuals, and then from those individualities come up to a group. And we are kind of in this environment, we have those specific personalities and the stories they talk about. And then we kind of come to a common ground to enter in the dance piece, a kind of warm up. It's a series of warm up. We warm up for the dance, and then everything is a big warm up to listen to Julius. So it's we are warming up the senses all the time, and then something that is all we are always preparing ourselves to the next thing, and also this thing that when the piece is finished, we are warmed up for the new world that is there to come. It's kind of this utopia that we like to work with in the piece. So yeah, there was this thing of falling in love with them. Actually, I knew some of them, Shereia and Isabella, because we worked together in other pieces. But the others, and also Stanley, that was part of the free schools back in 2022. But the others, there was only like I just fell in love with them and wanted them to shine their best. And I mean, I think I know that it's my first, not my first dance piece, because Feijoada, there is also, I consider that a dance piece, but in a very specific way of treating dance and dance writing that is more connected to what we see, other pieces that we see here in Europe. So it was a very nice exercise for me as well to get out of my own body and my own logics of moving and creating inputs for me to dance, and then to deal with different bodies, different ways of understanding movement, and amazing ways to respond to those inputs. So for me, it was a kind of exciting and terrific experience. Sometimes was very overwhelming because I was so happy and excited about everything. And at the same time, I was like, what do I do with this amount of greatness? So it was a beautiful journey for me.
Yeah, I think when we see the piece, we also feel that also this joy and this strength also from the group on stage. Yeah. You've been mentioning a lot the connection between Bruits Marrons and Feijoada. And Feijoada was presented at HAU during the season in the past. And both pieces, the way that you're speaking, also relate to memory, to histories in the past. But I feel that they have very, very strong reflection of what's happening today. So for you, what kind of conversations you wish that people could have and that the piece could activate today also?
It's a very, very interesting question, because the way those pieces are perceived is very different. And I agree with you, they both deal with what is going on today. The way the piece was and is being, those pieces were received, they kind of reveals how we want to deal with those questions. They are very similar in a lot of questions that I raised during the piece. Even some things in Bruits Marrons comes from Feijoada. This idea of being together, just, how can I say, cafuné is a word that we have in Portuguese that is a very specific way to scratch the head in a very soft way. And we have it in Feijoada and we have it in Bruits Marrons. We have people talking and strong moments of dance. But in Feijoada is a very bright piece, solar, and also we invite people to dance with us. We show our rage, talking about some subjects. And at the same time, we kind of bring the joy. So we are in this game of, this is how we feel, but come to party with us. And samba is like this, actually. Samba is a very playful and joyful kind of music, but if you take care to understand the lyrics, they can be very, very violent and very difficult to listen. So in Bruits Marrons, we kind of do the same, but the way we share this with the audience is not in a joyful way, in a brightful way. We don't invite them to dance with us. We are in a more confrontational relation with the audience. Yeah, I wanted to explore this side of being together. We are, we start the piece dancing with joy. I mean, we start with the joy of being together. We call this part the joy boy. That is also a composition of Julius. The idea of the black joy being together is an act of resistance and how we want to face the difficulties of the world. But at some times at some points in life, we need to put some borders and some limits in our community. And then we need to look around if we are in danger or not. I was also very inspired by the paintings of Henry Taylor, that is a painter from the United States. And there is this aspect of the painting of Henry Taylor that is, and one of them I actually use in a piece of mine. I have this pullover, a hoodie, where there is this painting of a black couple having a nice moment, sitting on a couch. And in the background, there is this wall of a prison with black people in line waiting to enter in the prison. So there is this things of being okay, but there's this danger that is always surveilling us all the time. Il faut, there is also this is the main topic of the piece, how we deal with danger, the danger that is always around us, and how we build our bodies around this danger. So in Bruits Marrons, there is this moment that we make this affirmation on the joy, and then we say that this joy has a price. This joy, we need to take care of it. We need to look around if we can keep this joy to us. So there is this affirmation, and also because the music of Julius is more about rage. I mean, it's so beautiful, so powerful, and makes us this rage that makes us move, not the ones that kind of make us freeze, but it instigates us to go beyond. But it's not brightful. It's not about being joyful. So I think that we are in sync with the music itself, what they bring to the world.
Yeah, thank you. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. So for the end, I would like to ask you if you could share with us what's happening next, right, for you as a creator. So you're touring, of course, the works that you did in the last years. And is anything else being prepared, or if you want to share something with us at this point?
Yes, we are again investing on the community aspect of a creation. But I had this command to create a solo piece.
Commission, you mean?
No, not exactly a commission, but a kind of internal in the things of the company. We thought it was a moment to settle a little bit, to rest a little bit, and not being involved in a big production. So let's create a more simple solo. It's been 13 years that I've been living in Europe, in France more specifically, and I wanted to spend more time in Brazil, connecting with the dances that I used to dance when I was back there, the traditional dances from my state, Pernambuco. And also there is this old project of connecting with the archives of dance of my mother. So I wanted to create conditions to do it, but in a solo piece. But as I wanted to be inside of a community, let's say, we created this project that is a solo that is surrounded by other works, let's say, that dialogues with this solo. So the name of the project is the name of my neighborhood. That is Jardim Atlântico. Atlantic Garden is the name of my neighborhood that I always thought it is very suggestive and very connected to what I create. So in a way, what we are creating now is a is an ephemeral neighborhood that takes the space and the time. And I propose my solo, and I invite other works to be surrounded by them. So there are some other works, some other dance works, and then we have atelier, and then we have let's say we're gonna have something around the food, and then a moment of sharing stories, things that I've been somehow working on my projects that I want to put on in an independent way that compose a kind of path during the day or during a weekend. And at some moment, I am part of this path. So more of an environment in a time frame. So we're gonna have this project premiered in March 20th in Cergy, Pontoise, a city close to Paris, in a theater where I am resident until next year.
Okay, yeah, thanks for sharing this preview. It makes us curious about what's coming next. And yeah, thank you so much for the generosity that you share with us today. And I think we are all looking forward to have you here with us in Berlin in August. And yeah, thank you so much for the podcast also.
Thank you, Ricardo. See you soon. Bye-bye.